last night. I was driving back a fair distance and it was late at night and I did not need food and I knew I did not need food. And I kind of wanted it, but I kind of didn't want it. But I've made this habit recently of like when I do a longer drive, eating something is like part of my entertainment and it's part of my self-love. Like I'm taking care of myself. I'm giving myself something I desire. This is self-love. And I've been thinking about this a lot lately and wondering and feeling like I use the guise of self-love for things that actually don't benefit my highest self. But it feels nurturing. It feels like, well, I want this. If I give it to myself, that's loving, right? Like, that's a question that's been in my consciousness for who knows how long, but it's more present and more close up lately because I've been really trying to work with loving myself where I'm at, loving my body where it's at, and what is love and what does that look like? I know I grew up being rewarded with food and I'm doing the same thing like with my kids. It's a way to treat, to indulge. I've committed to myself multiple times. And again, like a pretty big commitment I made yesterday after a beautiful but very challenging weekend. Committing really deeply to taking care of myself and loving my heart, loving myself, knowing that when I feel like it's lacking out here in my relationships, like somebody's not showing up the way I desire them to, that's a call for me to show up the way I desire myself to, the way I want to be met. Why does somebody else have to be at my beck and call to meet me where I want to be met when I could show up and I could meet me where I want to be met? So if I am needing more affirmation, if I'm needing more care, more presence, more connection, why can't it be me to give that to me? I mean, I'm here all the time. That would be completely unreliant upon anyone else, and they get to have their own journey then and be where they're at, because maybe my partner can't at that moment give me what I desire. So my big insight, which I've had before, but it was at a deeper level, you know, like these things, they seem so simple, and when the insight comes again, there's layers, and getting to a deeper layer and reconnecting with the truth that's here for us. It's a process, right? I'm sharing this. I know it's going to continue to be a process, and I'm going to forget and then have to remember and forget, and hopefully, you know, just remember. The more I can remember, the better. And that's what I do. That's why I create what I create. Like basically every painting you see here that you see me create, it's on purpose with the intention to help me remember something or to help somebody else remember something. A visual reminder of something good. Like that's what I'm trying to create in every painting I make. Maybe an insight, it might be an intention, it might be a message held within the image. I want to do some videos coming up here where I talk about some of these paintings and some of the messages because I know they're very relatable. And then maybe my visual reminder could be your visual reminder too. Yeah. So I had a challenging weekend. There was lots of intensity to it. And sometimes, most of the time when things are stressful, I try to make it up to myself. Like, oh, you've had a hard time. Let's have something yummy. Let's eat some yummy food. I'm a very senses-based person. I love seeing beauty. I love smelling wonderful, like, flowers or the scent of someone I love. I love tasting good food. I love feeling the experience of softness, of connection, of love. I'm a professional cuddler. I am such a touch-based person. And I love hearing, oh my gosh, the sounds of birds or music. Music like can send me into another world. It's so powerful. So I am a woman who is deeply connected to my senses. And I really like to turn the volume up on them when something is pleasurable. The food part is tricky because I don't think I can do too much music if I just follow what I want. Like, oh, I want to listen to music, or oh, I want silence, or I want whatever it is. I can't do too much of it. Like, it's not connected in ways that are gonna hurt me. But food is. And it's so tricky and it's hard because there's so many layers to it, and it's not just a sense that I can experience in the moment. Like, it has ramifications. If I love the taste of something, but I eat so much of it that now I'm hurting my body, like it's not serving me anymore. And I do have an issue with, I want more. I want more. If it's good, I want it. Like, and I want all I can. And I have a hard time with transitions, with endings and completions. And it's something I've known for a while. And so I got into fasting about, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago now. I started with intermittent fasting, and then I started doing longer fasts. And I lost a good amount of weight. I started fasting and leaning into that, not to lose weight, but because I was going through some emotional stuff and I wanted to practice being comfortable in being uncomfortable. That was my goal, and that's why I took on fasting. And I kept kind of pushing it, like, okay, yeah, that was uncomfortable and I made it through. Can I go longer? And I was doing that, and I did some prolonged fasts. For me, that the longest I went was 3 days. I did multiple times. It wasn't too hard to do 2 days after a time, and I enjoyed the process. I did many one-day fasts. I did a bunch of intermittent fasting. And as I was doing it, I started to see that the fasting no longer was to be uncomfortable. I was losing weight, and I was liking my new body shape. And then guilt started coming when eating. And shame started coming when I wasn't fasting. And I was fasting probably more than my body needed. But I was trying to maintain this weight loss that I had achieved. And I could just feel the balance shift where fasting had been really benefiting me. And like, if we picture this scale of like, this is for my highest self, and this is my wounds trolling me. Like, I was on the scale over here, like I was really growing and learning and stretching, and my body was doing good things. And I don't know exactly how this shift happened, but I guess it was in the world of me getting attached to loving my body more, with it weighing less, feeling more beautiful, feeling more seen and appreciated by the world around me, feeling like I was better now because I looked better. And so the compass that was guiding me, like my north, stopped being, let's practice like being uncomfortable, learning and growing in that. And it became, gotta stay thin, gotta stay smaller. And the only way to do that was with pretty intensive, multiple times a month fasting. And then trying to keep my hormones in check, I was not fasting the week before my period. And that was good, but then I would go the opposite extreme, like let me eat everything. And I don't know, I'm still working through it. I'm trying to come into a place of loving my body wherever it's at. And in that, I released fasting for a bit here. Because I could see how it was now coming from a place of fear that I was going to gain weight again, instead of coming up from a place of empowerment. I was acting from fear, and it was fear that was telling me I needed to fast. So I've released it. I spent a month of no fasting, and I don't really know where I'm going to be right now with it. It's evolving. But last night, I could have stopped eating, and I was driving home late, and eating at night, I have a spiral, and I know it's not smart to test the waters there. It's smarter, and it's better for me to just go without. But there's this undercurrent of self-love, and the question around what is self-love that can get me. I'm becoming aware, or even more aware, I should say, of how I can use the mask and the guise of, well, I want something. This is self-love. I am loving myself. I'm taking care of myself. If you want it, honey, you can have it. And so last night, I started eating some pretzels. You know, there's not a lot of nutrition necessarily in that. I thought, well, I'll just eat one and see. But I knew that I would overdo it. And I did. It doesn't work for me, but somehow I called it self-love. And then I realized last night when I was doing this, okay, what I think is happening is I am confusing something. And that is capital S self and small lowercase self. I don't know if you've heard of this idea, but the capital S self is like your true self. Lowercase s self is like the ego self, the identity, the wounds are in the small self. And the power and the freedom and the insight and the deep, ever-expanding love is in the capital S self. And I've never thought of or heard, so that's why I'm sharing here, the idea of capital S self and lowercase s self within the distinction of self-love. And I feel like this is a key learning, key insight that's coming into me now that I need to work with. Like, I need to work with this because I love to practice self-love. It's what I want. I want to do it. I know the more I do things that are within the realm of self-love, the better I feel and the more I can show up for the world in my best way. And though, when I call late night eating of some cheap, crappy food self-love, that is lowercase self-love. It's not capital S self-love. And when I'm done with doing something like that, like last night, I ate a whole bunch of these pretzels. And then I ate a brownie too. And you know what I was going to do? I was just going to eat a little bit of the frosting off the top of the brownie. And then I was going to stop. And then the whole brownie was gone. And I didn't need the pretzels and I didn't eat the brownie. And I felt shame when I was doing it. So if I'm feeling shame when I'm doing it and after I'm done, was that really an act of self-love? Or was that an act of like self-defeat? I don't know. Just taking myself down a notch. That choice and then continuing like, well, now I've started. I might as well finish it. If I finish it, it will be gone. I won't be able to do this anymore. It's just ridiculous, like the way my mind can do it, and I'm sure I'm not alone here. It's frustrating. And so this idea to filter my decision making through the filter of, is this for my capital S self or is this for my lowercase self? And to love myself no matter what choice I pick, and knowing that loving myself in my choices that are for my capital S self is just going to be inherent. Like, I won't have to try. I won't have to fake it. It'll just be there because I'm acting in service to my capital S self. I am being and embodying my capital S self when I make these choices that are for it, that are for her, that are for my soul. And so I'm choosing to feel and experience love when I am making my decisions for my capital S self. And that is a distinction that I think is huge for me to really get right now. That I could be experiencing love, the knowing of love in the process of making those choices, even if those choices are harder for my lowercase self. My lowercase self, when I make choices out of that, I am usually in the experience of at least slight shame or discomfort, even though I believe that thing is going to make me feel love. It's going to make me feel good. That's like the belief, the patterning in my brain. I need a disrupt, an interrupt, something to break that and help me realize that no, that's going to lead me to shame, to pitting myself, to feeling out of integrity to what I really desire and not moving in that way. If I could remember that the feeling of love is intertwined in the experience of choosing that which is in honor of my highest self, my capital S self. That's where the love is. And it is so easy and I won't have to do it. It will be becoming in the process. And so I'm going to keep feeling into this, but I felt like it was like right here at the top of my mind. So I wanted to share it and get it down. And I think because I'm an artist and a painter, I have a few other things that are like on the dock to be painted, and somewhere in there there's got to be a visual for this, for me to remember this, because this is a big one and I want to remember it. I'm opening up to some inspiration on what that could look like for my own reminder, and then for you as well, because I'm sharing this with you now. So when you see it, you'll be able to connect it to this and whatever connections came in your experience while listening to my stream of consciousness here. So thank you for giving me your time, for trusting my sharing to be of some benefit for you, that it would be worth giving me your time, because I don't want to take your time if it's not gonna give you something of value. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm grateful for you because I can make the intention that I'm going to share this with you to ripple out good. And in the doing so, I am hearing myself say these things and getting clearer on what the lesson here is for me. So thank you very much for being a catalyst and for being you. Sending loads of love to you. Mwah. Blessings. Take care.